And what we were going to do today, actually, rather than starting with the material that I've given you, is that we were going to open up a discussion where you could listen a bit or ask questions, maybe, depending on how Mary feels about that, about Mary's life, either now or in the first century. So that'll give you an opportunity to do something you've never done before and nobody else has ever had the opportunity to do before. Obviously, Mary's really nervous. First time in front of everyone, but looking as beautiful as ever. So what we're going to do today is probably, with the outline, we'll do this outline a little later, and Mary wanted to do this mostly, and she can tell you the reasons why she wanted to do it in a minute, but mostly to challenge some of her own emotions about what's happening for her. And so she's worried about how gently you might treat her, or otherwise. But one thing you'll learn about Mary in time is that she is a very brave woman. And so you will actually start feeling that, I think, over time as you get to know her. So I'm really happy she's with me. And we may even finish up in future doing some sessions together. That's probably the way it will pan out in time. And all of you have got did all of you get the email about the different sessions coming up? Yes. Today? Now, I could feel some reflections about the sex and sexuality discussion. In other words, a lot of you are real keen on that discussion. So I can feel that. And that's really good, actually, because it's we can cover a lot of things in that. That's on, isn't it? Yeah, we're still getting some feedback, so it's going to be annoying unless I just drop it down a bit. All right, so as to how we're going to progress then on this particular issue, I think I'll just hand it over to Mary, and I might actually turn off my mic so it doesn't do this. It's a combination of both.
Hi everyone, can you hear me at all?
So if I turn this one off and we up the volume of that, see it then.
I definitely need one. I'm feeling a bit scared. So. I just really wanted to say hi to everyone today because I've met lots of you, and I realise lots of people have different ideas about me and even what my name is and all kinds of things. So yeah, so here I am, and this has been a pretty powerful and strange journey for me to even get to this point, and it's taken me about a year. And I don't have everything figured out. That is my disclaimer. But I feel like this is my life now, so I'll step into it and let's know each other. And I really have had all these feelings just in the last 5 minutes that nobody really cares anyway. So I'm just like, okay, if you want me to talk about that, okay.
Like it. So I'll ask some questions. What's your name now?
My name is Mary Luck. I'm from Queensland. I was born in Brisbane and I grew up in the Bunny Mountains. Yep. And I'm an occupational therapist by trade. I've worked for about 10 years doing that, and in Australia and abroad I worked in Lebanon and Scotland and a few different places. Yeah.
So what drew you to go to Lebanon?
I went with Australian Volunteers International, and I was working in a refugee camp, living and working in a refugee camp with Palestinian refugees in Beirut. Yeah, and that was something I felt really drawn to do. And I actually, when I met AJ, my career was heading in that direction. I'm halfway through a master's in international health, and I felt my future would be in working in foreign countries in aid development. It's looking a little different at the moment.
So when did you first hear about me?
I had just 2 days prior hopped off the plane from Lebanon, where I had left my dream job and my dream man all behind. And AJ was in my parents' lounge room talking to people about the divine truth. And I was very suspicious. Not about what he was saying, because I really liked what he was saying, but why on earth would you tell people Jesus? That's just stupid. Even if you are, don't talk about it.
Which happens, by the way, to be my law of attraction last week as well. I've had lots and lots of people, quite a number of people email me about why I'm so stupid as to say I'm Jesus. That's a good email. And so we met then at, it's about just before New Year's, a year and a half ago, I suppose. And how was I with you?
You mean it's in handsome?
Let's go with it.
You didn't talk to me, and I wanted to talk to you about what you were saying, and I was very frustrated because I was asking you questions and you just didn't seem to answer.
I was very shy. You don't believe me? Yeah, I was. I was very shy. I couldn't even put 2 words together properly. But go on.
And then I found out a few weeks later that AJ felt that he was my soulmate. And I thought that was very strange. On a number of levels. Firstly, because I didn't want to be any kind of biblical figure ever. And secondly, because he didn't talk to me. So I stewed on that for a few weeks. And then I thought, I'm not having this man going around the world thinking that he's my soulmate, and talking to other people about it and not me. So I emailed him and I said, what are you doing? What's going on? Please tell me what you think. And then I thought that he would just email back and go, oh, it was just something I thought. It's not anything.
A big mistake.
Yeah. Which I continued to believe for about 6 months.
So I was overseas by this stage. So I was overseas, and I get this email. And by the way, the date that the email was dated was February the 14th. Unintentionally, but it was Valentine's Day. And anyway, I just saw this Mary Luck, and then this, I forget what the subheading was now, but I just saw Mary Luck, on my inbox. And I was so afraid to actually open the message. Because what had happened a few weeks earlier before I left Australia was that Mary, I could feel some quite strong anger emotions from Mary, particularly about me saying that I was Jesus. So that was the main issue. And then all of a sudden I get this email from Mary, who I felt at that time, and still feel, of course, was my soulmate, right? So all I could do was just sit there for a while in stunned silence, looking at my inbox. And eventually I opened it, and there was this lovely message. Well, I thought it was lovely. We read it again the other day, it was a 2-line message saying, what the hell are you doing talking about me?
You missed it.
Ange was there. What did I miss?
You missed the yell that came from the room. Yes, who I got
Yeah, that's
email
right.
from.
So we were in Dallas at the time, and on our travels overseas, and yeah, I was quite happy about the situation. Yeah, and then I wrote an email in reply. So what did you think about email in reply? Yeah.
I guess I went through a lot of really strange emotions then. Because AJ wrote back and said, yes, I think you're my soulmate, and lots of other lovely things about, I can't bring them to mind at the moment, but I felt very confused because this was a man that I had just met and really not really felt any connection to. But I felt very drawn into this interaction with him. So we corresponded for a little while, and I continued to be very distressed about the whole Jesus situation. And eventually I decided that I would join him on his travels in the UK by then.
She's great, hey? It's great.
Well, I have the kind of personality that I don't like to leave any stone unturned. And also, I have a need to know nature. So I needed to sort it out for myself, what I thought about that. But I continued to feel that I would get there and he would spend 5 minutes with me and go, oh no, I was wrong, and it's definitely not good, and we just continue on with our lives and I'd have a nice holiday. I didn't really think that. And then 4 days into spending time with AJ, I actually had a very large emotional experience that I couldn't explain. And that seems to happen a lot. Yeah. I don't know what you want to know.
You want to know about the emotional experience?
Yeah. I had a very strong feeling of grief and some rage at him that I couldn't understand, and I had a lot of feelings about him leaving me and dying. And really scared me a lot. And it didn't happen in any kind of visible way or biblical way. It was just a very raw emotion that I felt concerned him specifically. So that lasted about half a day of me grieving and writing and having feelings about having been a mother as well. Yeah. And then I really freaked out because I wasn't expecting that. And
Can I make some comments there? Because if you can just imagine for a moment that you've lived a life on earth where you're not conscious of any of these things, then you meet a person and all of a sudden you have this experience that you've had a previous life together and that they died and left you with a child, and all of a sudden all of those, so these are not pictures in your mind, but they're just feelings, emotions inside of you. If you can imagine that for a moment. And that's the beginning of Mary's, I suppose you could say, awakening as to what's really going on inside of yourself. That was the beginning of it. And since then, it's been a series of those kind of events.
And I'll just add that even when I was entertaining the idea that AJ was Jesus and that I was the soulmate, I at no time thought that I would have a memory like that. Like, I didn't even think about grief as a wife and mother. Because I went through a lot at that time about, am I inventing this? What is happening? I've never experienced anything like this, and I kept looking for rational explanations as to why am I feeling this, and I couldn't find any. And part of the emotion I felt at that time was, you can't be with this person because it's emotionally dangerous. It's just going to happen again. You'll lose him, or I'll lose him. Yeah. So that, because of that, we ended up spending. I just became more and more afraid about what was happening. But we ended up being apart because I couldn't reconcile this experience with my life as I wanted it to be, and I still have issues with that because it's not really where I saw my life going, and yeah.
And I just wanted to say a few things about it too, because I can't help doing that. And it wasn't just that one experience that Mary had. She had, from that time onwards, a series of experiences which were very similar in nature about a number of different things that had nothing to do with her life now. But they were all deeply emotional and obviously also deeply confusing. And so you can understand this feeling of fear building up and building up and building up, because it's just like any more time she spends with me, she goes through another emotional experience about, or a memory about something about the first century, but it's not a memory in pictures like we're often, with the New Age philosophies of reincarnation, that they often say, oh, you have these pictures in your mind about previous life and so forth. It's actually not like that. What it is these deep soul-based emotions that overwhelm you completely, and in the process of overwhelming you, obviously your mind kicks in and starts saying, what's going on, and many of you, if you think about it, have the same thing happening with some of your own emotions, don't you? Like, when you get into that state where you're really in a causal emotion, and you start, in your mind, rebelling against the emotion. But you start thinking, am I going nuts now? What's happening to me now? And it's that kind of feeling, but it's that kind of feeling related to a life and identity that you weren't conscious of. So it's very, very confusing process. So it's understandable that Mary was in this state, because in fact that was the state I was in at the beginning of my memory process as well.
So that was all about a year ago, and I have tried to sort of look at all of my emotions about this issue from a lot of angles, and including being away from AJ and feeling that this can't be truth. And I guess where I've come to now is that I feel like it must be truth, which is something I feel really scared about. And I should qualify that he now is my dream man.
For today at least. And would you like to just mention some of your recent emotions, or do you feel you'd like to stay away from that? I was thinking.
I have the overwhelming sense that nobody really wants to know. Why would you want to know?
Do you want to know?
Yes.
So that one of Mary's emotions obviously is that nobody wants to know me. And you can understand that, like, all through history, she has been the woman who's been basically kept away from the truth all of her life. So it's a fairly big emotion.
I guess the emotions that I have been going through they feel very personal to me, and I don't have a religious background at all. I don't know the Bible or anything, and I don't have a feeling like AJ's Jesus and I'm Mary Magdalene. I just feel like there's some other life that I've had, and this was my husband. And a few of the emotions I've been connecting to lately are about just being very young and falling pregnant as a result of a rape, and being turned out of my family home and giving birth to a son, and of him dying because I couldn't care for him adequately, because I had to leave him and I couldn't return to him. And the emotions that I've had are just so intense and overwhelming, and I feel a lot of shame and grief about having a child that I couldn't protect. I've been feeling a lot of emotions of grief about losing a husband, losing a dream, and feeling very unsafe and afraid for my life and my daughter's life. I had feelings about sexual shame that they don't respond to my current life. I feel quite afraid of people harming us, judging us.
Anyone will ever find a reason for that.
Thank you.
And in the first century, the way I died was that the people that were closest to us actually finished up causing my death. And you know, so for Mary and myself, that's an issue we've had to work through in this life, just how much the people who are closest to us affected us. And what we've found is that one of the emotions that we've both had is a fear of getting too close to people that are really close, and particularly when their emotional condition isn't one of love yet, because they make assumptions about who we are and what we're doing and things like that, and then they make decisions based on those emotions that are often out of harmony with love, and that's what actually created my death in the first century. So understandably, Mary also has this feeling of being afraid to even be exposed in a public way, or even in a private way, about and the effects that exposure may have later down the track. So what a lot of people do is they make assumptions in their own heart about what should be happening. And this happens already a lot in my life, where people think, well, if he was really Jesus, he should be doing this and he should be doing that and he should be doing this and he should be doing that. Not understanding that I'm coming from a different place to what they're coming from. I'm coming from this place of what would God do in this situation, not what would man do in this situation. But in the first century, most of the disciples were coming from a point of view of what would a man do in this situation. And they were very, very interested in setting me up as like a king over the Jews. And in the process of doing that, they created conflicts that were unnecessary around me, and that basically created a conflict situation and then threw me in the middle of it unawares, and which often I would have to then work my way through. And it happened in each case because they weren't trusting of what I was saying to them, that my kingdom was no part of this world, that it wasn't anything to do with this earth-based life that I was talking about so much, aside from this state of bliss. And so naturally, a lot of Mary's feelings, even about people that are close to us, can often be feeling like, oh, but what are they going to do next? They're nice to us now, but what might they do next? And the truth is that already in the time she's been with me, there's been a number of people that have been quite close to me who have then gone down the track of ridicule or doing things that are out of harmony with love through their anger, that have affected us and could have affected us negatively if we were in different conditions. So that's a big emotion to work through for the both of us. Would any of you like to ask Mary any questions? I don't know if people would like to. By the way, this process that we're going through is a process where we have to allow our own emotions before memories appear, and before we have clarity. So a lot of times we have feelings about situations in the first century, and this is not so much with myself now. Now my clarity is fairly good, but obviously for Mary, she's still going through this process, just like Cornelius was, right? So we can't answer all of your questions because there are just some things that are still locked up in us emotionally that we still are yet to deal with the emotions on. So if you can bear that in mind if you're asking questions. But I just like some of the things you've written in your diary. I don't know if you would like to share some of them. That might help with some of you. Like, our emotions are very similar to yours, right? So it's just about a different life. It's a much longer life, a different type of life. Jen, would you like to say? We haven't got a mic, so I might have to repeat the question. So you've got to make them short and concise questions.
When I approach you, Mary, I feel your courage. I feel your delicate femininity that highlights for me, in many senses, a lack in myself, but I see it, and to a very great extent I'm very afraid to approach you. But I just wanted to say how grateful I am for your courage of being up there where you are right now and exposing the very intimate part of your relationship with your wife and the things that you feel. For me as a woman, that's a wonderful thing. I'm trying very hard to connect to my own femininity and my own sense of womanhood, and I feel a sense of courage from your courage and for your own journey next to Jesus. That I don't know the depth of what I'm trying to say, but I feel it very deeply. Just a grateful. sorry if that's a projection.
I do,
I'm
though.
trying not to
I'd have to agree with you then.
I'm trying not to project my own stuff when I share my gratitude. Really hard. But it's just wonderful.
What did it feel like to accept that AJ is your soulmate? What was that process like?
So the question was, what does it feel like to, what was the process of accepting that I was her soulmate?
I guess emotionally it's still a process that I'm going through.
How did you get clarity?
Probably just from feeling my emotions, because actually a lot of the emotions that I had, like some of those ones I just related, were almost adverse emotions towards him, if that makes sense. But being with him triggered, I have felt more emotions than I've ever felt in my whole life. And so I guess, yeah, I'd be lying if I didn't say that I still at times think I can't fit this all into me, like it's too big, and I just have to go with my emotions because my brain can't really focus on everything that's happening. But I guess it's more of a feeling of being really strongly attracted. Like I can't leave this person alone. Like I tried having another life, but I really can't. I had this funny feeling in the beginning that when you meet your soulmate, angels should descend from the sky, sparkles, and you should gaze into each other's eyes. And I don't think that happens for anyone. Not unless you don't have a load of emotion.
I felt that.
Yeah, right. It's more emotions. Very.
When you're dealing with your emotions, like you get confused, or do you know there's an emotion from century start? When you feel the difference between like your life now, like you're dealing with childhood emotions.
Well.
So do they combine?
Yeah, it's sort of the way it's happened for me lately is just like lots of law of attraction events trigger me. Like the thing about the baby, that came out of nowhere, and obviously I haven't had that experience in this life. And my parents haven't.
Your parents haven't?
No. My mum's had miscarriages, but never lost a child, like a death of infant sort of thing.
Would you like to describe how that happened?
Yeah,
From the movie on.
we were watching a movie, and in it there was a child, a baby, an infant that was left unattended. And if anyone knows the name of this movie, if I'd like to know, we turned it on halfway through, and there were all these people on a yacht, and they all got stuck off the yacht.
Adrift, yeah.
Adrift is a
Right.
You have to write that down.
I'll remember that. And so, of course, they're all under the threat of shark attack and drama, there's stabbings, but all I can think about is the baby. I'm totally focused on the baby. I was driving AJ crazy because I couldn't watch, and I was pacing, and I had a massive emotional reaction to it. And I don't even know anyone who's lost a baby, so and there was a few other events that happened in my life, just around friends having terminations and things, and that really affected me deeply. I felt very sad about that, and and then AJ and I were just talking about something else emotional. We were talking about our relationship, and then all of a sudden, this thing overwhelmed me that I had been the mother of a little boy that had died because I couldn't get to him, and it was like hours of grief and mourning, and just so I guess I knew that wasn't from his life. I guess whenever I'm triggered, I just go with whatever the emotion is, and it leads me to where it is. Because some of it's this life. I don't know, Gary, it's really strange.
How much have you shared with your parents and how are they handling it? And how are you handling it with your parents?
I probably won't say too much, just like my parents. I'm not sharing the studios yet.
Mary, thank you for sharing today about your love for AJ. So I need to apologise to you that when AJ came last year and seemed so upset that you weren't loving him, I actually projected some frustration on my own stuff. That, I was angry why I wouldn't love him and stuff like that. So, yes, I get that. So I'm really sorry, but I think it was my style.
Thanks, Louise. It's cool. Don't worry.
Can I make some comments about that? And that's happened quite a lot for me, actually. And one of the things that's important to understand with the entire journey is that Mary's life with me is obviously very personal perspective. She has the most personal perspective of anyone in the universe about my life. And for that reason, like everything that's happened between us and happened to me and happened to her is very personal. And so you can imagine there's a lot of those kind of personal emotions. If you had a very loving relationship with somebody, and then that person actually decided through a course of decisions that they made, they died. One of the feelings that you will feel in that state is often a feeling of rageful grief, if you like. And you can understand that, right? It's almost like if the person had made a different choice, they'd still be with you, right? So, and it might even be just a choice to not walk across the road that particular day, or a choice to not go there and go here instead. And so naturally there's a lot of emotions associated with the personal things that happen between you. And so all of the things that Mary has experienced with me have been quite traumatic at times, and personally traumatic for her, as well as myself, obviously, in terms of our relationship. And so it's from that you can see that a lot of the emotions she has, and it's very important for, I feel, and I'm saying this from my perspective now, I feel it's very important that if you want to understand my lovely lady, you need to understand how those emotions would affect her or you in that situation. Yeah.
Also, because AJ has dealt with so much emotion, he can call me online really easily. And unless I'm in a place of complete humility, it can be quite challenging to hear that. And when I've had a lot more, and I still have some sort of anger and men emotions, and there's a man who's in your life who's constantly sort of pointing out, in a very loving way, but pointing out what's going on for you. It took me a while to work through. It triggered lots of stuff for me to work through.
When you are in your life, is there any particular meaning you guys see and what how long we're
Compared to JC? You mean compared to when he experienced it then?
Now, when you experience your emotions yeah, you see what the difference between how long you are experiencing to AJ.
Well, I don't know. You've got to clear you mean to clear the emotion?
Just like AJ for as long as he is during the days, weeks, months, or
Because he always says, I cried for 4 hours for 5 days straight.
Yeah, I'm terrible.
He always does that, doesn't he? And you go, oh, we've got a friend in Greece, and I talked to her on the phone. the other day, and she said, Mary, I was in this causal emotion, I was feeling all of this, I'm disrespected, I'm unloved. I was on the lounge room floor, I was crying, I was screaming, and at one point I opened one eye just to see how many hours it had been. He cries for 4 hours.
I cried for 4 hours because that's what's in me. So, like, the truth is what's in me. If you can picture yourself being in a 20-second sphere state, and then coming from that state, being the very first person to come from that state into a first sphere state, which is what the earth state is, and the huge emotions that triggers. Then what's happened within me is I'm ultra sensitive to emotion. So because I'm ultra sensitive to emotion, my emotions are often far more in excess of what the average person would need to experience. And so basically I'm a crybaby. But once you work through those emotions, like it will all depend on how sensitive you were to the emotion as to how great the emotional experience is going to be released. So in my case, the truth is that I was the most sensitive person of those who have returned to Earth or even never come to Earth again. And so naturally the depths of my emotions that I've had to experience are going to be far greater than those that you will have to experience. And many of you feel a sense of relief. And that's good. Like, in the end, you won't have to experience these things that I've experienced. I chose this experience so that I can understand your emotions and also be in a position to be able to advise anybody who comes to me with almost any emotion because I've personally experienced it. So don't feel that you'll have to experience exactly what I've experienced. And the truth is, for Mary and all of the others of the 14 too, their experience has been less intense, and sometimes I've been quite jealous because, like, I'll be dealing with a causal emotion about, say, some kind of issue for 4 months and it gets released. And then one of the others of the 14 do it in 2 weeks, and I go, damn, damn, I want that. And for the many of you, you'll find you'll be able to deal with that same causal emotion because it's not as intense in you. You may be able to deal with it for 4 hours. So that's why I've said to you quite often that you do not. Many of you could easily be at one with God before I am. Again, because of the amounts of emotions that are within me, because of that sensitivity between the 20-second sphere and the first. And I know many of you don't sort of grasp that intellectually at this point, and that's okay. But at some point in your progression, you will start to understand that at an emotional level, and you'll start seeing the contrast, and you'll feel that in your heart, so you'll be able to understand it then. But Mary does cry a lot.
But it was something I had to work through because when I first started, I thought, if I start crying, I'm going to stop and gone forever. And I had a lot of stuff to work through around crying. And I still go back to that place sometimes. Oh, all right, yesterday I had a big tantrum because I didn't want to deal with these emotions. I hadn't lived this life this time, and why do I have to deal with this stuff? But I'm much more comfortable with crying now, and I don't time it. Jen, at the back.
Stand up because I can't see you.
If you come down a bit and speak near the mic here, we might be able to get some of these questions. Thanks, Jen.
I've had a pretty tough week, a lot of emotions, a lot of crying, a lot of frustrations, but I think the core of it is about a relationship that I had with a man about 5 years ago. He ended it after 2 years, and I felt okay about that because I felt as though there was stuff that I couldn't stand about him either, But now I kind of understand that it's about emotional wounds and and us, bantering against each other. About 12 months ago, I went camping with some friends and he was there, and all of a sudden it was like, friggin' hell, I'm in love with this man again. It was just so intense and so emotional, and I thought, what is this all about? So for this last year, I have been fighting this, and I've talked to him about it. He's with another woman at the moment. But all I could say was, I feel so happy when I'm in his presence. And that's the biggest part that I can't handle. And I'm wondering if it's because he's my soulmate. And I just don't know how to deal with it. I don't want to feel like I'm somebody stalking him. I don't want to push him away with the friendship that I have. But I don't know how to deal with it, and it's affecting the rest of me. This last week at work has just been, everything has been annoying me, and I've been crying a lot, and last night and this morning I realised every time I say the word pain, I'm just so in pain, and I want to get rid of it. But I want to know how to deal with this. I feel as though I've got to leave the coast, because I can't seem to get anywhere with it. So if you've got any insights, please, magic wand.
Jen, I would just say you've got to deal with the emotions that it's triggering. I don't know even if you know that someone's your soulmate, or if you think someone's your soulmate, it's still in the end just a relationship, and everyone's got to own their stuff and work through what the emotions are. And like, I have been asked a lot of times, and AJ gets asked all the time, about whether this person's my soulmate or that person's my soulmate, and my answer is always the same, but it's possibly because of some emotions I still carry. But I always say, why does it matter to you? Because in the end, if you're attracted to this person, or if you're in an interaction with this person, that's your law of attraction to deal with whatever emotion's there. And in the end, the more we deal with our emotions, it's going to, the souls will be attracted anyway. So I don't, see, the emotion I still have is, just because you know it's your soulmate doesn't solve everything. Sorry, that's, I've got to own what's coming through there. But yeah, that's how I feel. Like, no matter what, you still got to deal with the stuff that's there.
Well, like this morning I just said, right, that's it, I'm not thinking about it anymore, I'm moving on from that, and then all of a sudden it knocks down on me again. And I know I've got to keep working through the emotions of it.
Do you know what the causal is though?
I think it's abandonment from me.
Yeah. So go there. Because often a lot of people, and that's the other issue that I have had over the past year about people, if they believe that someone's their soulmate, then they stay in it, and it's all about that person, and we've got, and all of this emphasis on these souls have got to be together, but your soulmate, or whoever you're in a relationship with, triggers your causal emotion. So no matter how much we want to say, oh, he did this and he's that or whatever, if it's not looking at our causal, like, then it's not going to solve anything anyway. We're just trying to change somebody else. And if this guy is your soulmate, or even if he isn't, if you deal with the feeling abandoned as by men, that's going to make it easier for him to step closer to you anyway. Because at the moment, he can feel that on his soul level. That's what I think.
If I could just make a few additional comments, Sylvia. With the situation you're in, there's this strong desire to avoid the causal emotion. And while you've been crying, you've actually been crying a lot about the effects of not being with this man, right? And that isn't the causal emotion. The causal emotion is this deep emotion about being abandoned by your own father, right, from an emotional level. And that's the emotion that you avoid. And see, what we do when we have this really strong, powerful emotions inside of us, we then have a tendency to go for the addiction. So in this case, you have a soul longing for your soulmate, because I can feel that longing from you. You believe this man might be your soulmate, but actually one of the greatest, he might be, and I'm not saying he is or he isn't at this point, even if I might know, right? But the important thing is that right at the moment, he is a trigger back to this causal emotion of being abandoned by somebody you desperately want to love you. And that's the emotion you need to allow yourself to feel. And that's once you feel that emotion, the irony is, if this man is your soulmate, he will actually feel more attracted to you after you felt the emotion than he could feel now. Because at the moment, what he would have to do is to feel this needy feeling inside of you to not be abandoned. Does that make sense? And that's not love. So in the end, you need to go through, as Mary said, go through the causal emotion, which is always going to be related to your childhood in some way, and not to this relationship with the man. Now, when you do meet your soulmate, often your soulmate triggers the biggest emotional responses in you. And in fact, many of those emotional responses, because you have injuries inside of yourself, they're going to be so powerful and overwhelming that you're just going to want to run away from that person and never want to see them again. I've been talking recently to a friend of mine overseas in the Bahamas, and she's got this thing going on with her soulmate. She sees him quite often in the street, and she knows he's her soulmate, and she feels so angry with him that he doesn't want to be with her. And she keeps ringing me up and saying, I'm a good woman, I'm looking really good now, and because she's worked through all of these emotions, and she's looking quite good now and feeling really confident in herself. Why doesn't he want me? And instead of getting deeper than that, she's just focusing, why doesn't he want me? She knows he is her soulmate. Why doesn't he want me? When in reality the issue is about her dad that she hasn't worked through yet, and not allowing herself to work through because it's quite painful. And instead wants to solve this addiction that's inside of her by getting a person who's her soulmate, or even who she wants to believe is her soulmate, to satisfy those unhealed emotions within herself. Because in the end, what will happen is you will attract your soulmate when you no longer need them. Do you understand that? So you will attract your soulmate when you no longer need them, no longer angry with them, no longer... And we think about it, if your soulmate is of the opposite sex, let's say you're a woman and your soulmate's a man, if you have any anger with men issues inside of yourself, you're already at the soul level rejecting your soulmate. And until that emotion is healed, you will not attract your soulmate. And if you have any feelings of neediness towards men, you are at that moment rejecting your soulmate. And the only time your soulmate could come to you with that emotion in you is if he is also willing to look after a needy woman. Does that make sense? In other words, if his emotions were compatible with yours. The only way really to attract a soulmate is for your emotions to be so compatible with everybody that at the end you'll attract a soulmate whatever his condition or her condition is.
And the ironic thing is I'm having the best relationship with my dad at the moment that I've had all my life.
And remember last 2 weeks ago I said to you that that's causing you to hold on to some of these emotions. Because you don't want to go down the track of saying, Dad, you were a naughty dad back then, because he's now nice to you and you've got a good relationship now, but there's all this unhealed emotions.
I don't want to get angry with you.
That's right.
I want it to be, because I've always wanted it.
You want it to be fixed because now you're getting what you need, and this is part of the addiction. Yeah. And now you're just transferring that addiction onto this man who you feel is your soulmate. So the key is to just go back into the emotion. Go and see him as many times as you can to trigger you. Do the opposite of what you feel like doing. Definitely don't leave the sunshine coast. Let every time you see this person, let it trigger you, and understand that it's related to your dad. No worries. Jen's going to go for a walk in the garden. So she's so good at processing emotions. I'm so impressed with her. Any other questions?
Mary, I read a book about 6 months ago. It sort of came upon my path. It's called I Remember Union. It was written by, I think it's Flo Fabia Maria. Someone came into, I don't know whether the author was channeling the Spirit Mary or what it was, but it was written in a first-hand account. So it was my story, and this is my story of Mary Magdalene. And it was very powerful for me to read. It's beautifully written. I sent to America to buy a copy for myself. And I mean, I found it a magnificent account of the life of Mary, according to this spirit or this author. And I was struck by how much it was the courage of the person Mary Magdalene in basically sort of almost making a contract with Jesus before they came to earth at that time, at the time of the first birth, and how much love and support Mary Magdalene gave to Jesus at that time that went unnoticed, that was really not noticed and not obvious, and very much to her own detriment. I don't know what spirit channeled this information, because I'm sitting here thinking that book must have been written well after you were born in this lifetime. But also, I was training at a workshop at that time with over 100 people, and I got up and talked about this book, and I was amazed at the energy and the effect that it had on the other women at that workshop. A couple of people are here with me, but it had the effect of really bringing a lot of courage and openness, and the women, it changed the energy of the women at that, it truly changed the energy of the women at that conference at the time. And I concluded that there's something about Mary Magdalene energy on earth right now that is crucial, and particularly to womankind. It's just a comment and requiring an answer, but I guess I was thinking you must have energetically set up that there would be, you've given a lot as a person married to Jesus, a lot by way of incredible courage at your own expense, which is what came through in this book. And I don't, as I've said before, I don't know who channeled the book, but I would imagine that a lot of those emotions would be
I don't really understand how this whole soul works, mine, because I'm aware that AJ has channeled things since he's been born, and I know he has some feelings about the capability of my soul to channel things, and that's the kind of thing that really does my head in, and I kind of freak out a little bit because it just seems bigger than who I am. And we were having a discussion in the car on the way over here, and I said to AJ that I don't even identify yet with the name Mary Magdalene. Like, I just have a feeling of having had this life and being connected to him and being connected to his life, and yes, that's the life of Jesus, but this woman Mary Magdalene, well, if that's me, I'm just trying to be who I am, and I'm quite scared about a lot of people having perceptions about me and being critical of me, because I don't actually feel that I'm that flash person. I don't. It seems like too big of a circle, and especially being the other half of this soul, and it's really full on sometimes for me to think about those things, yeah. But I'd like to read the book.
The book was channeled by a spirit who doesn't know everything about Mary's life, but who was able to channel through some of the filters of the woman channeling a lot of the details about the emotions of the life. But you are right that, like one of the things that I've said to Mary, in fact, when I first replied to her, I said to her some things about the importance of her, and this will be triggered Mary, whatever. I feel that that there's so many things, in the last 2,000 years there's been so many things unsaid about her life, and so many things also unsaid about the feminine side of God as well. And one of the things that I ideally want to correct, and I attempted to correct in the first century, but I didn't feel that successful with it. But one of the things I definitely want to correct is this whole imbalance between the masculine and the feminine. And one of the imbalances at the moment there's a lot of different imbalances that are going on between the masculine and the feminine. And many women are looking to a person to be sort of like a role model, if you like, of what it means to be a woman. And there's a danger in that, you know, looking to Mary to fulfil that role, just like looking to me to fulfil the role of the opposite on the male side, is actually disconnecting you from God. And it's really through your connection with God that you will become as womanly, if you like, or as feminine, or as masculine if you're a male, as you can possibly be. And that will be the connection that actually heals you. But it is natural, I suppose, to look at people who we believe can give us that courage. But be careful of doing that in your own lives, because in the end, true courage comes from your relationship with God and no other source. So if you can just bear that in mind.
Sit back and enjoy the ride.
It's not a very passive ride. Thank you. Yes, I know the question. Sorry?
Is there any other questions for Mary? Is it a question? Fire away.
Just a practical question. I understand recently you left where you were living, moved to what seems like a totally remote place, out of the world, to be with AJ. Could you just describe to me, in simple terms, how you got to the point where you gave up your life, moving with this man?
It took a long time, well, it took a year, and I really resonated with the whole teaching